All right.
Okay, it worked. Welcome to part 9 of the Forbidden History series, Ask Dezert-Owl. Um, I'm NinjaCat, and back to Desert.
And thank you. Thank you, Ninja. And everybody, sorry for the technical problem, but that's beyond our control. And we're just wanting to get back in and not just let it go for the day, because everybody comes by and they're trying to grab at this information, and something interesting happens. That's just the nature of the beast, I guess you could say. And but that's okay, because I know where we left off. I know where I was going, and thank you for Kev as well for just giving me the backup on that as well, just in case. And but the the terminology. Now I'm having a senior moment here. I just got lost adjusting my chair. Uh, yeah, the Norman Dodd, who came out of banking and figured out everything that was going down. He then uh, was kicked out of banking and had his life threatened, and he goes to work for the Reese Commission. Discovers through the investigation of the Reese Commission that the foundations in America were being used to put a communist regime in the White House and to destroy America through a slow process of like boiling the frog. You turn it up real slow over a long period of time. So so then, because Norman Dodd was investigating the Jewish banking elite and the key associates of the Jewish bankers, the Khazars. We're going to read who the Khazars are in a little bit here. They're very proud of who they are, and so because he was now in their face and creating a problem for them as they saw it by just telling the truth, then they then began to call him anti-Semitic. And so this was the first time, right around the 1930s, 1940s. I don't know the dates anymore. You know, I have to go back but it was probably more in the late 1940s. I'm going to guess, probably after World War II, because a lot of the confusion of World War II was bypassed now. And so this investigation went on for a good long while. And so they called Norman Dodd an anti-Semite, and so it's rather telling. And we just lost our stream. Okay, good, we're still there. So that was when the term was coined, and so he knew it was an oxymoron. You know, terminology. They invent these things to serve a purpose, and who can prove the argument without knowing the argument and who they are. You know, again, when I talked about Sun Tzu the other day, you have to absolutely know who your enemy is, and you have to know who you are. Good to have you back. Join the dots. Thank you. Yes, it's nice to be back, and thanks to some quick handiwork by Ninja to get us back on. I just said let's do what we can to ramp up. She'll get better at it. If they keep doing it to us, then she'll just get better at it and quicker. You know now to always go on to the video page, second tab from the home page of Ask Desert Owl with NinjaCat, and go there, and because we'll be ramping it back up, you'll see it go live. Then you click on it again. So we're gonna just play the routine, and you of course you know who who's are the YouTube, the Who tubes, you know what I mean? They're the Who tubes, the Jubidoo tubes, you know what I mean? That's right, because they control it all, don't they? They control it all. And then they, at the same time, while they're having a party on our lives, they're going to mock us, and they're going to commit genocide of our men, women, and children. Or children, see, like with the words, child means killed. It's cold in High German, cold, because your body's cold when you're killed. You know, so that's where all these words come from in the original thought. You know, but that literally They've done a number on our planet, ladies and gentlemen. I used to interview Ted Pike, who with his wife Lynn, and they went to Israel and they proved out. They did a video. You can check it out. Go. It's called "Why the Mideast Bleeds." Why the Mideast Bleeds by Ted Pike. You can watch it later on YouTube, no cost. And they've done other uh, videos on the Talmud as well. The Other Israel, I think it's called The Other Israel. These are all very important to watch. And it looks like Ted's wife may have been poisoned somehow. She died of cancer at one point, and of course he went right after the ADL and exposed their games and their shenanigans uh, so yeah, Ted has been a very brave patriot of America. But the irony is there can be no real patriotism for America because America doesn't exist. And this has been the point. Since the bankruptcy, America ceased to exist. It's been a Jewish banking Vatican operation. Okay? Banking operation. And so it's all the smoke and mirrors, the game of illusion. They got the slaves to think they actually have a nation, and there's nothing but an illusion, a bankruptcy. That's why when you go to the courtroom and then you say, you're innocent, or you weren't there, didn't do it, or or like they tell you on the Miranda warning, anything you say can and will be used against you. What part of can and will doesn't anybody get? Will be used against me? I don't think I want to say anything then, but no, the people, they hear it and they don't get it. So anyway, it's these are pretty muddy waters, because people take offense. My good buddy Stephen Jacobson. He came out of the Jewish families. He did Mind Control in America and exposing the deception of modern money, two all-time classics. He quit making television and movies and commercials out of New York, walked away from the big money, and he exposed it all. A Jew, okay, a good Jew. So there's plenty of good Jewish people out there. We're talking about those in the clique, okay, of following the Babylonian Talmud, the most damning, the most evil, the most despicable book on the planet. And it came out of India. It went through Babylon, but all this stuff, everything originates in India. Everything. Kung Fu, the game of chess, the electricity, the flying vimanas, who we call anti-gravity today, all originated out of India. It goes on and on. Okay, it's all smoke and mirrors. A secret that's called the unseen hand. They've been running our world from the beginning of time. So I know I've been getting long-winded on this. I didn't plan on being this long, but we didn't have a plan on the disruption either. But let me finish the back of the book. I'm still on the back of the book. I can't get over it. So Yahshuah referred to himself as a Judean, actually Euthan. Euthan is more correct. The modern day Jews were historically known as Khazars or Kaisars, or as we find it in Rome, Caesars. Same word, but Khazar is the proper terminology. The modern day Jews, were historically Khazars or Khazars, a Mongolian Nordic tribe. So that's Aryan. Nordic is Aryan. Mongolian is a bastardized culture that lost a lot of its pure Aryan by interbreeding with other races. So it was a mixed race, but they roamed the northern European steppes. Benjamin H. Friedman was one of the most intriguing and amazing individuals of the 20th century, the one who wrote this book here. Mr. Friedman, born in 1890, was a successful Jewish businessman of all things. Another one bringing out the problem, because not all of them are bad. Some of them are good. And here we have a good one, because he was a Jewish businessman in New York City who was at one time the principal owner of Woodbury Soap Company. He broke with organized Jewry after the Judeo-Communist victory of 1945. That's basically when the Soviet Union was formed. The Bolsheviks, which were 100 kites, Jewish kites, come out of New York, funded by Chase Manhattan Bank, and a rail car full of gold with Lenin pull into to Russia. Was that, I'm getting want to make sure I got that right, but close to the story. If I'm off on one point, but basically it was Chase Manhattan Bank, 100 kites, 100 kites. Oh yeah, that's right. And Bolshevik means majority, right? And the majority were 100 people, 100 kites out of New York. They were not even, Russians or Khazars or any of those things. Well, they were Khazar Jews, yeah. But so the point is that that the revolution was an outside element that came in, and it was the Jews of New York. Okay, and so he broke with organized Jewry after the Judeo-communist victory of 1945, and spent the remainder of his life and the great preponderance of his considerable fortune, at least $2.5 million, that was a lot of money back then, exposing the Jewish tyranny which has enveloped these United States, which is another story for another day, United States, because it's a metaphor for the United States of the world. All of the nations, which are imaginations, and they're all organized by the unseen hand against the people of the planet. And that's what we see now with the lockdown, right? That's what we see. It's their final showdown because they can't grow enough food anymore. I was talking to Kev on Skype the other day. He says there's no food growing in England. He saw one cornfield in Britain, I think he said, in that area. And the same within America. There's been more crops destroyed over the last winter and summer through floods and the cold and everything else going on. Plus the economy. They've destroyed the beef. They destroyed chicken flocks. All the stuff that's being destroyed. The granaries. I watched them tear them down in the Houston area in the Ship Channel back last century, and people would say, why would they tear the granaries down? Well, I guess it means they don't plan on having any more grain, and so it's quite a deal, ladies and gentlemen, what's happening, and nobody can figure it out. They think, oh, we got to lock down for another 10 days or a month or whatever, and then everything go back to normal. There will not be any normal anymore, ladies and gentlemen. We are going down in flames because it is over. Our world is crashing. The environment is crashing. Do you listen to Dane Wigington? Go to Dane Wigington, okay? Dane, D-A-N-E, and then last name W-I-G-I-N-G-T-O-N on YouTube, and you'll find Dane Wigington, okay? So let me just read a little bit into this book, and I'll tell you what, Ninja, with needing a break, I think right now, let's go to my standard break for the first part, and then we'll pick it up. I need to just rest my voice for a moment because I've got a lot more ground to cover. And Join the Dots says UK is corporate food, small food businesses closed. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, and thank you for that. So we're going to keep on rolling. We're going to take a 5-7 minute break. And so don't go away. Okay. Just tell a friend and we'll look for you on the other side. You did tell a friend? Go call a friend right now, please. You don't have any friends? Wonder why. All right. See, I don't either. Don't feel. Oh, I do. Actually, I do. Very few. Because people do not love the truth. They want to be bored with the fiction.
Okay, welcome back. You're listening to Ask Desert-Owl on the Forbidden History series. I'm NinjaCat. Glad you could join us for take 2. So, yay. You can also find us on the Cosmic Essence. We've just started live streaming over there. We haven't done many, but we alternate between the two channels. And also, Desert has 2 other channels, Forbidden History Archive and the Forbidden History series. The Forbidden History series is his original YouTube channel that he got locked out of, and it's amazing. They're both amazing channels, lots of information, all live streams. So links are in the description. Please subscribe. Also, all the links to get Desert's books, the transliterations, are below as well in the description. I won't say the A word, but the links to the websites and how you can get them. If you are going through hard times and can't afford the full price for the books, contact details for Desert are also in the description. Just give him a call, send him an email, and we will do what we can. Desert will do what he can to make sure you get the information. Okay, back to you, Desert. Are you there? Okay.
Okay, thank you. And so, burying alive.
I can hear
Can't
you.
you hear me?
I can hear you now. Is it
Ninja, I'm going to call you back.
okay?
Thank you. All right, I think we're good to go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hanging in there with us. And the term burying alive in Black's Law Dictionary from the late 1800s, the first edition, Black's Law, you like that? Black Law? The law is black. That's an interesting term. In English law, the ancient punishment for sodomites and those who contracted with the Jews. Okay, and then it's got the site here where that comes from. So those who contracted with the Jews, why? Because they are insurgents. They are revolutionaries. They are agents of doom and destruction. And they make themselves out to be the world victims. It's all manufactured, of course. They are actors. So let me go in the book a little bit. Just I'll tell you. Okay, so just real quick, let's see the origin of the so-called or self-styled Jews in Eastern Europe. Khazar is accepted modern spelling, Khazar. The Jewish Encyclopedia retains the archaic Chazar, but it's with the K. The K is the archaic, and it shows the region that is coming from. I'm gonna just go to the quote that I had identified in here. And oh gee, I pulled my marker out. I don't believe it. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. Hang on. Here it is. Okay, the Talmud today. This is on page 28. The Talmud today virtually exercises totalitarian dictatorship over the lives of so-called or self-styled Jews, whether they are aware of that fact or not. Right. In other words, the point being that all of the regular Jews who are just regular, ordinary people, basically like us, are being controlled by the higher echelon of Jews who have the agenda. So they even control their own. It's all mind control. In fact, the mind control and the brainwashing is so great in Israel, pseudo Israel. Um, they take them to the concentration camps in the in Europe and Germany and all that, and they feed them all the lies, and then they get them to regurgitate all the lies and perpetuate the false narrative of what really happened in Nazi Germany at the time. And because banking is the henchman. In fact, isn't it interesting? I mean, to really make it look clear, how come Hitler waged war on all of Europe, but he didn't wage war on the banking headquarters of Switzerland? Wow. Where all the gold and all the funny money is? Didn't go after Switzerland. Well, I think that sort of tells the story. Signs and symbols rule the world, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so just one more point. In my first attempt at an 8.5 by 11 dictionary, well, it's not my first attempt. It was like my 7th, I think. But it was one that I built the prototype of and published. It's 8.5 by 11. You can get it on Amazon right now, just on Kindle. I've got to find my other PDF or Word document so I can get it on hard copy. The Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary. I have an appendix in the back. And so I'm going to read what the Jews say about themselves. Okay? It is highly probable, and by the way, this is on page 236 of the Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary. Okay? And so it is highly probable that the bulk of the Jews' ancestors never lived in Palestine at all, which witnesses the power of historical assertion over fact. Under the heading of a brief history of the term Jew, in the 1980 Jewish Almanac, we read, strictly speaking, it is incorrect to call an ancient Israelite a Jew, or to call a contemporary Jew an Israelite or a Hebrew. Well, gee, I've been saying this all along. And Hitler was trained in Switzerland. Okay, well, thank you for that, Wolfpaw. Good to have you back. And excuse me. The World Book omits any reference to the Jews, but under the word Semite, it states Semite. Semites are those who speak Semitic languages. It's still an incorrect terminology because Semite it's Shemitic, Shemite, but Shem was the son, one of the 3 sons of Noah, and he was Melchizedek. So they didn't come through that line. They came through another line of Aryans, you see, and they just supplanted themselves. And by labeling yourself something over and over and over, repeat the lie long enough, and people accept it, So so in this sense, okay, Semites are those who speak Semitic languages, but it's all an oxymoron because the diction is Aramaic. The diction is Indo-Germanic and is commonly referred to as Aramaic. And so the term as a Semitic language is an oxymoron and means nothing because it's an illegitimate statement of fact. It's a creation. It's a fabrication, you see. Okay, in this sense, the ancient Hebrews, Assyrians, Phoenicians, and Carthaginians were Semites. Well, no, they were Aryans. You see, that's the right term, Semite. Is that to say then the other brothers and sons of Noah weren't Aryans, or that there weren't others that split off when the Watchers fell and married with the children of Cain? So it's all semantics, but it's not. It's creating more of a cloud than it is giving answers here. So the Arabs and some Ethiopians are modern Semitic-speaking people. Again, this is the same World Book statement, so it's propaganda. That's basically what it is. The Semitic-speaking people. Modern Jews are often called Semites. No, they call themselves Semites to create a diversion. But this name properly applies only to those who use the Hebrew tongue. The Jews were once a subtype of the Mediterranean race. Now, just want to back up on that now, but the name properly applies only to those who use the Hebrew tongue. Well, the lineage of the pure tribe came through Shem, who is correctly Asham, who is actually Malach-Eshadek, okay, mispronounced as Melchizedek, but it's Malach-Eshadek. You can see the word edict is in there. Malach for royal messenger, Malach-Eshadek. So the royal messenger with the royal eye and the edict, and so that could be true. That statement right there could be accurate. But one last sentence here: the Jews were once a subtype of the Mediterranean race, but they have that's not true. But they have mixed with other peoples until the name Jew has lost all racial meaning. Well, you see, that's why it's in the World Book, okay? Because it's a propaganda tool, and they control most all publishing. Simon and Schuster, there's a couple Jews, and just go on and on, okay? And I just want to clarify again, this is not to denigrate the Jewish people as a whole. We're talking about people who follow the Babylonian Talmud and have created deception on planet Earth, are engaged in banking, that's why Yahshuah, we have the picture of Yahshuah in the temple throwing out. He didn't throw out the merchants. They weren't merchants. They were money changers. Therefore, they were bankers. He threw out the bankers who were merchandising animals at the same time, giving a little exchange with a percentage and buy a lamb or sheep or a dove and go have your happy sacrifice. They were bankers. He's throwing out the bankers was symbolic of what is happening to us today and has been going on for thousands of years. The money changers, mammon, filthy lucre. Okay, continuing here. There are hundreds of books, mainly Jewish encyclopedias and histories available for study, which prove that over 90% of the Jews of the world are not a Semitic people, but few people other than historians ever bother to read them. Following are just a few examples. The Jews Are Not a Race by Dr. Alfred Lilienthal, Jewish historian, journalist, lecturer, and graduate of Cornell University and Columbia Law School. During the Second World War, he served with the U.S. Army in the Middle East. He later served with the Department of State and as a consultant to the American delegation at the organizing meeting of the United Nations in San Francisco. On December 18, 1993, Dr. Lilienthal celebrated both his 80th birthday and the 40th anniversary of his first book, which was called What Price is Real? What Price is Real? Dr. Lilienthal, who is a courageous anti-Zionist Jew, there's a good one, you see, anti-Zionist. What is Zionism in their terminology? It is world domination. You see, we want Zevon. That's the more proper way to say it in the original. Zevon. Zevon is as you can hear it there, the word what we think of when we say heaven, but Zevon means like the powerful rays of the one. So it goes back to the light again, back to the sun. But there's Zion, Z-I-O-N, is the world domination. Our Zevon is separation from this world and receiving the state of nirvana in that sense, the oneness and the fulfillment of our purpose and in being reborn to the truth. So Dr. Lilienthal, who was a courageous anti-Zionist Jew, was joined by more than 200 guests who traveled from all over the United States to attend. The History of the Jewish Khazars by D.M. Dunlop page 4 through 15. Our first question is when did the Khazars and the Khazar name appear? There's discussion as to the relation of the Khazars to the Huns on the one hand and to the West Turks on the other. And I just had that image as I'm reading this. I remember the day the Twin Towers came down and how there was two Jews who were in a moving van that had the destruction and a plane flying into the Twin Towers painted on the side of the van, a big moving van, and they were jumping up and down celebrating the death and destruction of 3,000 men and women in the Twin Towers. So these people are so pathetic, you know, and so disgusting in this higher echelon. To continue here, the prevalent opinion has for some time been that the Khazars emerged from the West Turkish Empire. Early references to the Khazars appear about the time when the Turks ceased to be mentioned. Thus, they are reported to have joined forces with the Greek Emperor Heraclius against the Persians in AD 627, and to have materially assisted him in the siege of Tiflis. It is a question whether the Khazars were at this time under West Turk supremacy. The chronicler Theophane died circa 818, who tells the story, introduces them as the Turks from the east, whom they call Khazars. And you know, interesting. Now let's talk about that thing with the Turks, because the first mafia in America, the first official organized crime mafia in the late 1800s in America, were called the Young Turks. Put two and two together, ladies and gentlemen. And then, you know, along with Alex Jones, who acknowledged underworld Zionist himself, feeding all of his data to the I can't remember the name out there in Austin now of this Zionist group, Samfer. I think it's called Samfer, and they were taking all of Alex Jones's patrons' names and information so they could have them on the list. And then like the David Ikes of the world and the Alex Joneses, then comes up a new so-called patriot group of all things, you know, the very Eastern-looking people, not the original Eastern, but the surplanters that came in later on, who had dark eyes and dark skin, and they call themselves in this so-called patriot channel the Young Turks. You may have heard of them, the Young Turks. And I listened to them a couple of times, and I was just astounded that the people would be listening to such propaganda and nonsense. People they just don't know the issues, and therefore they don't know who to listen to, because they've been so well programmed and disinformed. That's what education means, disinformed, because editor removes from the curriculum. Khazar traders brought not only skills and carpets of Persia and the Near East, but also their Judaic faith to the banks of the Vistula and the Volga. Those were the rivers. But the kingdom of Khazars was invaded by the Russians, and Itil, its great capital, fell to Swiatoslav of Kiev in 969. The Byzantines had become afraid and envious of the Khazars, and in a joint expedition with the Russians, conquered the Crimean portion of Khazaria in 1016. Crimea was known as Khazaria until the 13th century. The Khazarian Jews were scattered throughout what is now Russia and Eastern Europe. Some were taken north, where they joined the established Jewish community of Kiev. Okay, I have to tell you what really got me motivated on this, doing this presentation tonight, is when I heard about the new administration taking over and the switch outs that were occurring, and how now they're about to declare anybody who talks about a a Jew is going to be called an anti-Semite, and he's going to go to that guillotine they got waiting in the concentration camp. So I got really motivated because they're going to take us all to the concentration camp and the guillotines anyway, you know, if they don't give us the jab. And so we have nothing to lose by calling a spade, and they're as black as black can get. Benjamin Freeman. So I want to thank them for the motivation because it really helps. I didn't want to be here anyway, you know. So obviously our days are very short numbered now, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why getting on with the spiritual portion of this program will be more important than this will be. This is just footnotes and facts of history, and these are Jews in their own words. Their own words, okay? So can they be anti-Semite? I don't think so. This anti-Semitism is only in the mind. Only in the mind. These are the most wicked people, you know, that we have in our modern time today. They were given full-blown power. When you can print all the money, you control everything, you know? Did you ever hear about a Hollywood production going bankrupt? Or, you know what I'm saying? That how can they come up with millions and millions of dollars to do all these fantastic simulations of life, you know? It's because they got us in a simulation right now. They have mastered the art of the grand illusion, of deception, the art of war. Benjamin Freeman, facts are facts. Khazars, a people of Turkish origin whose life and history are interwoven with the very beginnings of the history of the Jews of Russia, driven out by a nomadic tribe of the steppes and by their own desire for plunder and revenge. In the second half of the 6th century, the Khazars moved westward. The kingdom of the Khazars was firm, notice that, moved westward. That's all of Western Europe, okay? They're mixed with the Germans. You see, they were participating with Hitler. They were part of the regime. You know, I always wondered when I saw the Catholic priest standing on top of the ditch while all the naked Polish people were marched into a ditch at machine gun point. And I always used to think, how come the priest isn't in the ditch with the victims? He's standing on top of the ditch with the Nazi soldiers, giving them their last rites. What is wrong with this picture? You know, and that shows, of course, the Vatican is behind it all. They use the you know, the Jews, okay, and just like they created the Islam in the 600 period as well, you know, to annihilate what? Eastern Christianity. Now they're coming for Western Christianity. Everywhere you see Islam today in the East used to be Christian, the most superior and pure form of Christianity the West has never known. Okay, because we got a counterfeit version of the original Christianity. All right, so the kingdom of the Khazars was firmly established in the most South Russia long before the foundation of the Russian monarchy by the Varangians. At this time, the kingdom of the Khazars stood at the height of its power and was constantly at war. I think the Varangians are a form of the class that we call the Merovingians. I'm not sure though, but it just sounds familiar. At the end of the 8th century, the Kagan, the king of the Khazars and his grandees, together with a large number of his heathen people, embraced the Jewish religion. That's not Israel, okay? That's Babylonian Talmud. Encyclopedia of Americana, 1985. Khazar, an ancient Turkish-speaking people who ruled a large and powerful state in the steppes north of the Caucasus Mountains from the 7th century to their demise in the mid-11th AD century. Not their demise, but they simply homogenized and flowed into the West. In the 8th century, its political and religious head, as well as the greater part of the Khazar nobility, abandoned paganism and converted to Judaism, which is the cover for Talmudism. Encyclopedia Britannica, 15th edition. Khazars consider a confederation of Turkish and Iranian tribes that established a major commercial empire in the second half of the 6th century, covering the southeastern section of modern European Russia. In the middle of the 8th century, the ruling classes adopted Judaism as their religion, which is the cover for Talmudism. Academic, they got the Christians today calling what they follow Judaic Christianity, Judeo-Christianity. What a oxymoron that is. Neither term is correct. Um, all right, so a job for the religion. Okay, so Academic American Encyclopedia, 1985. Ashkenazism. There's the word Nazi. Okay, there's the word Nazi. Ashkenazi. You see. So what did Hitler call his regime? Nazis. There it is. The nexus, the missing link to the puzzle, ladies and gentlemen. Although it is a corruption of the original term Nazare. Nazare is what they're implying by Nazism, Nazi, because it's an abbreviation. Remember, they abbreviate the word so we don't ever get the picture. But Yahshuah didn't live in Nazareth. There never was a town called Nazareth. Constantine's mother founded one so they could create the cover for the original meaning, which is the Nazare, which is the breath of light that came down and breathed into Hadam. The nasal, the breath that breathed through the nostrils, the nasal ray, the light that came and enlightened mankind and made him a conscious being, the royal eyes of creation. You see, that's what it's about. So the Aryans are claiming to be that royal light, you see, while they're the mother sons of darkness, while they're carrying the torch, but now they carry the torch of deception, not the original torch. Okay, control going forward here. Encyclopedia Americana, Ashkenazism, the Ashkenazism are the Jews whose ancestors lived in German lands. That's right, they moved there. They moved to Poland, moved to Jutland. There's Jutland, Jutland, get it? Okay. It was among the Ashkenazi Jews that the idea of political Zionism emerged, leading ultimately to the establishment of the state of Israel, pseudo-Israel, because Israel ceased to exist officially and absolutely in 722 BC, when the 10 northern tribes were dispersed by the Assyrians into Assyria and then into the rest of the world. And gone they were. And they were supplanted by Babylonians and Assyrians who adopted the customs of Israel, or Eshrayulva, not to offend the God. That was the idea. They adopted all the customs, and that's why the Judeans, the Pharisees and Sadducees, as we see in our scriptures, wanted nothing to do with those in Samaria, which is where the 10 tribes came from originally, wanted nothing to do with them because they knew they were not Israel. You see? That's why when Yahshuah goes to the well, the woman is following Israel customs and is despised by the Judeans, by the priesthood, because they were supplanted, Babylonians and Assyrians, and took on the title and the customs of Israel, though they were not Israel. Get the picture. But yet she talked about Jacob's well and wanting and waiting for the Messiah and all of those things, right? But they were not Israel. This is important because it expresses the duality of what is continually going on. The greater, the lesser. The Big Dipper, the Little Dipper. The criminal, the innocent. Barabbas, son of the Father. Yahshuah, son of the Father. Yahshuah, son of the Father. Okay? John the Baptist, the Old Covenant world, prolific just like Yahshuah, but never made a miracle. Yahshuah and John were like twins in the following and in their oration, but one did no miracles. That's expressive of the slower world, the false traditions. But Yahshuah worked the miracles. You see, his tradition worked the miracles. You have to see things with the inner eye and realize what it is really saying, ladies and gentlemen. All right, continuing here. So let me see. Let's try this again. Encyclopedia Americana, 1985. Ashkenazism. The Ashkenazism are the Jews whose ancestors lived in German lands. It was among Ashkenazi Jews that the idea of the political Zionism emerged, leading ultimately to the establishment of the State of Israel, pseudo-Israel. In the late 1960s, Ashkenazi Jews numbered some 11 million. That's 1960s, right? And some 11 million, about 84% of the world population. In fact, if it were the 5 million or 6 million, I think they said, that died, during World War II, there weren't even that many alive at the time. Go put two and two together, okay? It's all a facade, and you have to see that. The Jewish Encyclopedia, Khazars, once you remember the old axiom, they don't care what the answers are, as long as you're asking the wrong questions. But once you start asking the right questions, you're going to start getting the right answers. The Jewish Encyclopedia, Khazars, a non-Semitic, Asiatic, Mongolian tribal nation who emerged into Eastern Europe about the 1st century, who were converted as an entire nation to Judaism in the 7th century by the expanding Russian nation, which absorbed the entire Khazar population and who accounted for the presence in Eastern Europe of the great numbers of Yiddish-speaking Jews in Russia, Poland, Lithuania, Galicia, Arabia, and Romania. The Encyclopedia Judaica, 1972, their book officially, the Encyclopedia of Judaica, right out of their own book now. Let's hear it clearly. 1972, Khazars, a national group of general Turkic type, independent and sovereign in Eastern Europe between the 7th and 10th centuries CE. During part of this time, the leading Khazars profession. Let me try that again. During this time, the leading Khazars professed Judaism, in spite of the non-legible information of an archaeological nature. The presence of Jewish groups and the impact of the Jewish ideas in Eastern Europe are considerable during the Middle Ages. Groups have been mentioned as migrating to Central Europe from the East, often have been referred to as Khazars. Remember, it's the same word as Kaiser and Caesar, right? So Khazars means the stars with the keys. The stars with the keys. They have been given, they are being used. In other words, prior to them, being used by the Vatican, they were a product and a faction used by the ancient Aryan Brahmin priesthood. They've been serving the culture as bastardized Aryans, probably originally known as Assyrians, but went further north into the steppes. You see, so the Aryans were the asses. They said, get out of India. You're our cousins, and we don't want you here because we want to keep a limited number of Aryans here in northern India. And so you all go now into the Middle East and between the rivers and become our Assyrian brothers, and then and you do our battles for us. That's how it worked. They were using the red-head spotted Celtic, but as the Aryans grew, they began to oppress the Celtic, the red-headed spotted, who were the Phoenicians, and they lived throughout the entire Europe. The red-headed and spotted lived throughout all of Europe, and then they were eventually annihilated by the Assyrian culture that migrated. They needed more land, migrated into Europe, and eventually pushed them onto the islands. Julius Caesar, Khazar, he was the last one to push them out of Europe. There in Gaul, you may remember the story of Julius Caesar and how he conquered the Celts there in Gaul, and it was one of the greatest battle strategies of all history. Okay, it was, and so I got to do a refresh on my screen here because it's looking fuzzy, and I don't know why. So refreshing that. Okay, so hopefully I'm still on there, and no, it's still funny. That's really weird. It got fuzzy. Ninja, I don't know what's going on, but let's keep ticking here. Okay, and so they were absorbed by the, okay, so I got that. And so the Khazars, a national group, general Turkic, Okay, Encyclopedia of Judaica. Let me try that again. Khazars, a national group of general Turkic type, independent and sovereign. I'll tell you what, Ninja, I need a break. I'm either going to lose my voice or let's go to a break. I'm going to finish this. I just have one more page. Okay, thank you for the date, the update there, Ninja. I'm going to go to a break. My picture's back now. It's not fuzzy anymore. Let's go to a break. And then when I get back, I'll finish reading this last page. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 more sources. And let's just read them all. You know, I just don't want to give you I want to give it all to you because this is what's being kept secret from us. These are the people that want to destroy our families and what's left of the remnant of our culture. They want to destroy everything about us. They hate our guts, and they want to play victim. They play poor victim. Oh, don't talk about me. Don't use your racism against me. You know, well, they are the mother sons of darkness, and think it's okay to rape children. Okay, so we need to know who they are. If you don't know who the enemy is, then you don't know how to protect yourself from their annihilation. And I don't think there's anything that can stop them, ladies and gentlemen. But at least you want to know, right? You want to know who they are, who's really doing, how the game is played. And so when we get back, we'll finish it up here. We may have to do the read of the final hours tomorrow because this got long-winded and we had some technical issues, and so it just inspired me to go in 10 different directions. So anyway, that's okay. We got it done. We're getting it done. Somebody's got to do it, and I'm just a glutton for punishment, ready to bring it on. That's right, Ninja. We'll part 10 tomorrow. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Time to call a friend. You did call your friends, didn't you? If you have any. And thanks for doing that. Okay, we'll be right back. I'm Desert Owl, thanking you for being here with us on Ask Desert Owl. What they didn't want you to know. Wait a minute. We didn't do any Q&A, did we? I always get long-winded here, Ninja. We're going to have to stop that. All right, I'm going back. I'm going to take a break. You're on.
With a question. You want a question?
No, I want a break.
Okay, let's take a break.
Please.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, you mentioned Q&A. Okay.
Well, we may get to it at the end. I'll open it up. I'll try to do a couple before we go, okay?
Okie doke.
All right. Maybe it'll be on this topic or maybe anything else anybody wants to talk about. I'll be glad to entertain it. All right.
Okay. I have a question, but I always have questions, so we can save that till the end, if you like.
You're an insider. You don't.
I know.
You know. She asks me questions every day, ladies and gentlemen. That's why she's here.
Okay, welcome back. You're listening to Ask Dezert-Owl on the Forbidden History series. I'm NinjaCat. Please forgive us for technical issues out of our control. We just had another disconnection, but it reconnected before it shut the stream down. So if you've been kicked out of the chat or the live stream, just refresh or close it all down and go back in. And restart, and it should be fine because it's reconnected. So yeah, apologies for that. I know Apollo. Yeah, I know Desert.
The guise of Apollo. You're putting on the mask of Apollo.
Yeah. Okay, back to you, Desert.
Thank you. Okay, and in spite of the so I was reading in the Encyclopedia of Judaica. I'm going to start there because I can't remember if I finished it or not. Groups have been mentioned as migrating Central Europe from the east. So I think I did do that, and referred to as Khazars, thus making it impossible to overlook the possibility that they originated from within the former Khazar Empire, right? Okay, so the Universal Jewish Encyclopedia, another one of their sources. Khazars, a medieval people, probably related to the Volga Bulgars. Those ruling class adopted Judaism, which is Talmudism, during the 8th century. The Khazars seem to have emerged during the 6th century from the vast nomadic Han Turkey Empire, which stretched from the steppes of Eastern Europe and the Volga basin to the Chinese frontier. Although it is often claimed that allusions to the Khazars are found in as early as 200 CE, actually they are not mentioned until 627. Most Jewish historians date the conversion of the Khazar king to Judaism during the first half of this century AD, being 627. The primary meaning of Ashkenaz and Ashkenazism in Hebrew is, are you ready? Germany and Germans. Boy, I even forgot this one. That's where we talked about why they don't call them Dutch, right? Why they don't say Deutsch, or we don't say Deutsch. And I said that, the other day, and they don't call themselves Germans right over there, but we do. So what's the difference between Deutschland and Germans? And here it is. The primary meaning of Ashkenaz and Ashkenazism in Hebrew is Germany and Germans. Well, what does that mean about those who were massacred in the Holocaust? They were killed by the Jews, ladies and gentlemen. Now, isn't that amazing? A bit of information, huh? Amazing. So they migrated and they were mixed. You see, so they killed the Sephardic outright because they wanted to get rid of the last remnant of Israel. So the Khazars, who were surplanters, right, just like the Assyrians surplanted themselves in the 10 tribes of Samaria, and so we have now the annihilation of the last remnant of original Israel by the Khazarian Jews, the Ashkenazi, okay, which is also known as Germans and Germany, because they migrated into the West. They took over banking. Of course, if you can print the money, if you got the secret underground click, right? Naturally, you gain control. They don't care who makes the law because they're going to print the money. So they're above the law. They call themselves the law through the Indo-Germanic term Jew, which is a cover for Yahweh. I can't now. I have to go back and open the book again, but we did it earlier. So let me try this again. The primary meaning of Ashkenaz and Ashkenazism in Hebrew is Germany and Germans. Another interesting term, thinking about this, right, is that they decided over all these decades, they went to Geneva, Switzerland, and in Geneva, they decided how they're going to wage war peacefully, if you can imagine that. Isn't that an oxymoron too? How they're going to wage war honorably, or whatever you want to call it. You know, the rules of war, these are like the international protocols, and now we can go kick each other's butt, but we're at least going to do it by following the rules. And it's interesting because, you know, Geneva, literally you can hear it as two words, generations of Eve. So in the metaphor, we're all the generations of Eve. And the Kaiva, the first woman. And at the same time, in Hebrew, their Hebrew, right? Their Hebrew, not the original, because it does mean generations of Eve, but in Hebrew, Geneva means hatred. Hatred, okay? Rather interesting how they spin these webs. So, what we say, the primary meaning of Ashkenaz and Ashkenazism in Hebrew is Germany and Germans. This may be due to the fact that the home of the ancient ancestors of the Germans is Media. There it is, Nicomedia, right there. I hadn't read this thing in a decade. You know, I put this in here and I've totally forgot all this, which is biblical Ashkenaz. Kraus is the K-R-A-U-S-S. Kraus is of the opinion that the early medieval ages of the Khazars were sometimes referred to as Ashkenazism. About 92% of all Jews, or approximately 14,500,000, are Ashkenazian. Okay, that's today. So I'm not done here, but I'm my throat is getting hoarse, and I'm going to have to just close it out, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'm going to pick it up tomorrow, finish these definitions, and then we'll get into our other read. And God, I don't want to lose my voice, or I may not be able to come back tomorrow. So, and I had some other great stuff to share as well, and we will do Q&A. You know, we'll do. I'm sorry, Ninja, I can't do your Q&A tonight. I'm
That's
hoarse
okay.
right now.
We've been going for
And
a long time.
yeah, so we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll play it again. Samael, Uncle Sam. We'll play it again, Uncle Sam, just for you, and because you love us to death. And so do tell your friends about the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we're only here for a short blip on the radar screen, and maybe even shorter now. And you know, it's funny, they made the Nagahai laws to cut all of our heads off, and now they're getting ready to implement them. Excuse me, but it's nothing, you know, nothing to lose your head over, okay? Because this world is temporary. You need to identify with the light, because if you know for a fact that you're not of this world, then what you do is you want to pursue the light of the truth. What we are doing here on this broadcast is defining the correct terminology for Shavors, for words. Shavor, the royal I at the center. The same word is the word savior. Turn off the A, you get Shavor. There's the word savior, shower, sword, sower, savior, Shavor, word. Okay? So, and thank you, Join the Dots, for being with us tonight. I know you're staying up late there in Europe, and we sure appreciate it. And so just realize, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know the future, I'm Dezert-Owl telling you, then you need to look for the forbidden history, because it's what they didn't want you to know.
That we tell right here.
Thank you, Ninja. Good night, everybody.
Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day with eyes that know the darkness in my soul. Shadows on the hills, sketch the trees and the daffodils, catch the breeze and the winter chills in colors on the snowy linen land. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now. Starry, starry night. Flaming flowers that brightly blaze, swirling clouds in violet haze, reflect in Vincent's eyes of china blue, colors changing hue. Morning fields of amber grain, weathered faces lined in pain, are soothed beneath the artist's loving hand. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now, for they could not love you, but still your love was true. And when no hope was left inside on that starry, starry night, you took your life as lovers often do. But I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. Starry, starry night. Portraits hung in empty halls, frameless heads on nameless walls, with eyes that watch the world and can't forget, like the strangers that you've met. The ragged men in ragged clothes, a silver thorn, a bloody rose, lie crushed and broken on the virgin snow. Now I think I know what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they're not listening still. Perhaps they never